Good morning. For some reason, I hear two of myself. Joy, joy, joy. I don't know why I hear two of myself, but that's okay. Hey, how's everybody doing this morning? Yeah. Actually, I need to try and fix this. Hold on a second. Audio output. This. Hello. Oh my goodness. So if you notice, I'm here and everything's torn apart, and I'm just kind of faking it today. Um, I hurt my back last night trying to move things around, so that was fun. uh, I don't think it was you having me in both places. I think something's going on here. Technically, T. Good morning, sir. What's going on? How's everything in the land of tea? Yes, that's what I was going to talk about. This LG has decided to give us 3 years of LG support. So, which I don't, I can't claim to not be skeptical. I'm very skeptical of this whole thing. Um, However, I mean, good for them. Good for them that they offer us this. I guess I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Um, I have no idea. You're over here. So anyway, yeah. Um, what are we saying here? LG is setting that up so they have a base to come back to the industry. I don't know. I mean, I haven't looked at the I haven't looked at the petition, but I doubt the petition is going to make a huge difference. And so, if you lose $4.5 billion, then you're probably in trouble and need to make some new choices. So I'm going to guess that LG is done with the smartphone business. That's just my personal opinion. Um, I am glad that they're saying they're going to support their customers. That's a plus. But yeah, I really don't see them coming back, unfortunately. I guess anything's possible, but that's really difficult to say. Um, but yeah, I think LG is definitely out, and the postmortems have gone on, and it seems like everybody's doing a postmortem on LG over the past several days. Um, Matthew Lang brings up the point, like, yeah, when has LG ever promised support like that? They may be setting up to come back in a few years if a few years time in a restructured form that is more profitable. Maybe, maybe, maybe. I mean, they've got some really good ideas. The stuff that they were talking about doing this year was really pretty cool. I wanted to see that rollable phone. Um, and I just don't know if we're gonna. I just don't know if we're gonna see it. Um, Unfortunately, but one can hope. Uh, I don't think it's like HTC or BlackBerry in the sense that, well, HTC sold a bunch of their stuff to Google, and Google uses their stuff now. Um, and I think that BlackBerry was bought by TCL, and then now I think somebody else is putting out BlackBerry phones, but that's as far as it goes. BlackBerry is not really BlackBerry anymore. So RIM, the company that put out BlackBerry, is not really doing the thing anymore. So yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I know that LG tried to sell their business, at least their North American business, and weren't able to do it. And so now here we are with no LG. They just decided to pull the plug entirely. So it's not the same as like some other companies that have sold their property to other companies at this point. That could change, but at this point, that's not the case. So yeah, I think that we've seen the last of the LG. Uh, and there was a leaked LG V70 mock-up that was put out yesterday, I think it was. Yeah, yesterday. And I mean, it looked like the LG V60 for the most part. It wasn't super impressive. It wasn't something that like it wasn't something that I think would have changed the game for LG or anything like that. Unfortunately, it didn't look really all that crazy or good. So, I mean, there you are. uh, what blend of coffee? This is a Starbucks pre-ground French roast that I just like haphazardly pour into a drip coffee maker. It's not anything fancy by any stretch of the imagination. I just put as much coffee as I think I'm going to need for half a pot in there, which is probably way more than I need, and then I drink it. And that is how it works. What it pops up. You're so mean, man. What's up, Sean? Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you this morning. Yeah, so I guess first let's start off. I was all discombobulated by my audio problems. As long as it sounds fine to you guys out there and you're not hearing like two of me, then that's fine. So let's start off by thanking our sponsors, Restream, where you can stream to up to over 30 different places. If you're interested in streaming, if you want to extend your reach beyond just one single platform and go to YouTube and Twitch and Facebook and Twitter and all these other places all at the same time, all with the same broadcast, then you can do that with Restream. Links down in the description, but the link is restream.io/join/PHT. That gets me some credit for you guys going there and hooking up with the Restream, and that tells them that I'm doing a good job plugging for them, because as I've said before, Restream has been integral to helping me keep this thing going. They have stepped up and sponsored the channel, and I'm really appreciative of that. So I'd like to help them in whatever way I can. So if you have any streaming needs, if you want to get streaming out to multiple platforms, then Restream is the place to be. And go ahead and check that out. Restream.io/join/PHT will get you there and get you a little bit of a discount as well. So check it out. Apple warranty is a scam. I mean, you could make the argument that most extended warranties, are scams. However, I will say, as the owner of an iPhone 12 Pro with a cracked screen and a SIM card tray that won't close, that I wish that I had bought Apple Care for that phone, because now it's going to cost me a lot of money to get it fixed. And that, I mean, I guess I could just get it replaced, but that's $550, which makes it a $1,600 phone. And as much as my daughter is a very conscientious person, I don't think you can trust any teenager to have a really expensive phone and not get it messed up. Godfatter Gaming, I'm going to get there. This is the introduction to the show, dude. Settle down, okay? So let me get there. I do need a mod. I have mods, but I think that since I've gone earlier, I think some of my mods haven't been able to make it to the show on the earlier slot. So, and today, like, I am just like I'm using the Razer Kiyo webcam today. They sent it to me about a couple of weeks ago, and since all of my stuff is not plugged in, I figured I'd try the Razer Kiyo. I'm looking at the picture here. It doesn't look too bad for a webcam. Looks pretty decent. I see a little focus hunting, but that's not too bad. Um, I am gonna, I could appoint some new mods if people continue to get out of control, but yeah. So yeah, it's I'm completely out of sorts today, so you just have to forgive me. But let's talk about the Apple event that may have brought some of you here to the show today, or let's say the lack of an Apple event. So Apple, at first it was rumored that in March, on the 23rd of March, that we were going to have an event, and then I guess that didn't happen. And oh, KG, hello to you as well. Good to see you this morning. So it was rumored that we were going to have an Apple event in April, but now some leaks have said that we're not going to have an Apple event at all. And the Apple will just release the iPad Pro, or all in a press release, and that will happen. And then also, guess what I'm going to say? What else was supposed to come out at this event? What else was supposed to? AirTags? AirTags. Supposedly AirTags have been, say it with me now, delayed. AirTags have been delayed. And so we get to wait a little bit longer for the AirTags. Yay! Now, Andy, what makes you so sure that Apple's going to have an event here on the 8th of April, and we have not yet had an event or an announcement of an event, and usually they at least give us a couple of weeks, 10 days notice for an event to come around. So I don't know that we're going to get an event. Yeah. If we do, fine. But they've done it before. They've announced iPads with press releases, and I don't know that there's really going to be a lot about this new iPad Pro that's going to be different, other than the potential for the micro or the mini LEDs. Micro LED is something entirely different. Mini LED display. So we'll see. Yeah, right now, like, I'm using just like straight natural light coming from the window. I actually have a window in here that I rarely ever open, and it seems to be washing out the whites, and like picks up the blue from back there. I don't know. Maybe in a more controlled lighting situation, it would be better, but it's not bad for a webcam. I can tell you that. I mean, if I were a tiny little picture, nobody would be able to tell the difference. So yeah, Apple has never operated in this manner. It is too inconsistent with what has happened in years past. Well, there may be a reason for that, Andy. There may be a reason for that, and it's one that I haven't heard the computer/consumer tech people talk all that much about, but I know that it is affecting people like in the audio industry and that kind of thing. I know that there was a fire in a chip factory back in, I want to say, November, and that fire destroyed the factory. And it was a factory that supplied a ton of chips. Now, if anybody knows which company this was that had the fire, please put it in the chat, because I haven't been able to do like all of the research that I need to do to find out. But it could be because another article that I saw earlier this morning was that Apple's iPads and MacBooks, et cetera, may suffer delays from chip shortages. So there are shortages of chips out there right now. I know that Universal Audio, which is a company that makes one of the most popular brands of audio interfaces, the Apollo series, I know that they get all of their chips from this company, and they've gone to the lengths of adding what they call the heritage package to their bundle with any of their products. And the heritage package is basically like some additional plugins to the ones that you usually get with the interface. And those additional plugins, uh, well, for those additional plugins, they've added like $200 to the price of the interface. Now the problem is, like, I've used Universal Audio on and off for many years. I was thinking about buying a new, more expanded Universal Audio interface, but then I looked at all the plugins, and I own all those plugins, so there's no real point for me to buy a new Universal Audio interface. And they do have some plugins that they'll allow you to swap out and stuff like that, but I already have a lot of the ones that they swap out as well. So Apple maybe dealing with this chip shortage as well. I'm not exactly sure, but this is over and above anything that might have had anything to do with the pandemic. Scott, thank you for the research and for the super chat. Scott says that AKG Audio Semiconductor is the company. So, like I say, I don't know if the potential Apple shortages that I've read about this morning will have anything to do with this potential with this company, AKG Audio Semiconductor, but it has been an issue for a lot of companies. So that could explain part of why Apple is acting outside of the norm for what they usually do. They would have had an event by now, or an event would have been planned, and we haven't seen anything like that. Um, and what about the iPad Mini? I can't tell you. I've said it a bunch of times. I really like the iPad Mini form factor. I think that it's a really good form factor for a tablet. It's because, as somebody who likes to watch videos and read and stuff like that, I I enjoy the big iPad, but sometimes the big iPad is like more more than you need, right? You can't really hold a 12.9-inch iPad in your hand and like watch stuff. So to me, reading or whatever on an iPad Mini is the perfect thing. But I haven't heard anything about a new iPad Mini. Right now, the iPad Mini is $400, and the newer iPad, like regular iPads, are less than that by $100 or more. So I don't know what's going on with the iPad Mini. Should you buy Norton antivirus for Mac? No, don't buy don't buy antivirus for Mac. Even though there are now viruses for Apple computers, still it's like not nearly as much as you would see on a Windows computer. And honestly, Apple puts out security updates, really, really frequently. So I think they stay on that stuff pretty well. Not, I don't work for Apple. I don't know exactly what their what their schedule is, or why they do what they do. But I don't feel like I haven't had an antivirus program on any of my Macs for years, many, many years. So, um, so yeah, I don't see the need. And in fact, I honestly don't see the need for antivirus, like paying extra for antivirus for a Windows computer, because Windows Defender, that has been built into Windows now for I don't know how long, but I've been using it ever since I switched over to Windows 10. I've been using Windows Defender, and it seems to do a really good job of catching stuff and eradicating stuff. But then again, like if you want to avoid the majority of viruses, don't download stuff from stupid places. Make sure that you're downloading from someplace that you know is legit, and you'll be okay. But there are the odd things here and there that could happen. But yeah, Max, it's not worth paying the money. Vincent Garzon, sorry. How are you? Good to see you. 18 years old from Miami, Florida, down there in Miami. I hope it's nice down there. It's a little overcast here today. Maybe that's why I'm getting the. Actually, it should be a more diffuse light. I don't know. I don't understand. Um, yeah, Apple is on it with security for sure. And yeah, Andy's got a similar situation to what my experience has been, and so definitely. Chip Armageddon was last night. Watched movies. Well, I don't understand, Danny. You're gonna have to explain to me. Gonna have to explain. So let's see. We've got Apple with their non-event, whatever. I guess it's not gonna happen event. And then we've got let's see, LG was another thing that I wanted to talk about. And where did my pages go? I had pages. There they are. Oh, maybe that's why I'm hearing two of myself. I don't need that up here. So, okay, if I disappear, hold tight. I'm leaving this page. Okay. Am I still here? Yes. Can I hear myself? Oh, it's still doubled. I don't understand. Anyway, let me get back to these stories that I have picked. So I guess Nokia has a new phone. The X20 is designed to actually last you 3 years, they say, thanks to software updates and extended warranty. It's okay. Let's just admit that any company touting a 3-year lifespan for their Android device, I mean, it's great. It's better than 2 years, but it's not what you get from Apple. Am I right? Am I right? Yeah. And HTC's mid-range device, I guess HMD is the company that's now putting out Nokia's phones. The X20 price starting $349 or $299 Great British pounds, which is 415 American dollars. So 349 euros, 299 GBP, and USD 415. Will release in select markets globally, such as the UK, starting next month. It looks like a phone. I don't know what's going on with my screen sharing and stuff today. Again, I am an idiot. Okay, I think I can do it. Let's do it. There we go. Okay, so that's the Nokia phone. The HMD Nokia X20. Spec like a device at this price point, Snapdragon 480. Well, I don't know. I've never used a Snapdragon 480, but 6 or 8 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigs of storage, 4,470 milliamp hour battery, 6.7 inch 1080p 60 hertz display, punch hole camera, and 4 rear cameras, including ultra wide, macro, and a depth sensor. So, I mean, this doesn't sound too bad. And so 4,470 milliamp hours doesn't sound like a lot, but I'm gonna guess that the Snapdragon 480 is not the power suck that the 800 series chips would be. So this sounds like an interesting phone. Mount of fingerprint. Oh yeah, the fingerprint readers on the side. I like that. I'd be really interested to try this out, if for no other reason than just to say, like, okay, here's my Galaxy S21 Ultra. What does, like, something that has, at least by numbers, half of the power of this, uh how does it stand up? I don't know. I don't know. Nokia is rumored to dump stock Android soon. I hadn't heard that. That would be that would be silly. And Skip Topher kind of has locked on to what I was talking about. 3 years isn't as long as Apple. It is, however, important for Android manufacturers to start offering longer support to advertise. Hopefully, it will spur more manufacturers to do the same. So this is the second manufacturer that we've seen today that is promising 3 years of support. Now, my question is this 3 years of support for security updates, or is this like we're going to get 3 years of Android updates? It says here, in the past, HMD has generally been good updating its phones over time, though Computer World's Android 11 update tracker reports that it's been sluggish lately. The Nokia 8.1, 3.2 released in 2018 and 2019. The upgrade roadmap and okay, so Samsung recently said it would offer its is a little less than the 4 years that. Well, 3 years is not a little less. 3 years is a year less. That's 12 months less. So Samsung has recently said it's going to offer security updates for 4 years. So I agree that this is an important thing in terms of. I think Android manufacturers recognize that there's a big gap between what they can offer for the money compared to what Apple offers for the money when it comes to older devices being current. And I think that matters. I think that makes a big difference, especially since it seems like we're moving into an era where people are going to keep their phones for longer. People are gonna do their thing and not want to spend money year after year. I mean, if the upgrades from year to year are not all that great, then I don't blame people for wanting to hold on to their phones for longer. Danny says some manufacturers 3 years of support on quarterly basis. Yeah, there. So yeah, it could mean quarterly, as you guys are saying. This article is not 100% clear on that, but yeah, I would be wary if it was not, like the monthly security updates. Android, like Windows, can be a little bit more vulnerable to that kind of thing. So yeah, I would be wary about that. But I mean, this new Nokia phone, people were asking about Nokia the other day. This new Nokia phone doesn't look terrible. It doesn't look all that bad. Like I say, I'd be interested to see how the Snapdragon 480 processor with 6 to 8 gigs of RAM would work. 128 gigs of expandable storage. So that's something that's becoming rare. So yeah, I mean, it's got decent camera specs in terms of the number of lenses, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know what that means in terms of the quality of the camera, the camera's pictures, but it's along with the 3 years of use. HMD has also made a couple of other decisions in Nokia X20, in the name being eco-friendly. First in the EU, joining Apple by not including a power brick in the box, just a USB-C cable. What you do get in the box is 100% compostable phone case. So you get a phone case made out of plant-based materials, I guess, is what they're saying. I think with LG leaving the market, Nokia might be able to expand back into the US market if they play their cards right. I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong, but I don't think that we're ever going to see Nokia make another flagship level phone. I mean, they've kind of been out of that game for a while. Uh, but Danny's also got a good point here. You know, some of the higher spec phones are decent, but a Snapdragon 480 probably won't age all that well. That's a very fine point. Maybe the Snapdragon 840 or 480 will not last for the 3 years. What's up with the fuss about the Xiaomi Mi 111 Ultra? As far as I can tell, having not really watched much of anybody's videos, is there's a little screen on the back, and I think that's what drew my attention. I was like, oh, there's a little screen on the back. However, again, maybe this is. I just don't feel like, with most of my audience being in North America, I don't feel like covering something like a Xiaomi or a Huawei phone does me a ton of good in terms of having people want to see those videos, because most of North America can't really get those phones. Um, so I tend not to really pay a ton of attention. I know that a lot of the UK a lot of the UK YouTubers do cover those a lot more than Saf covers them, and Mr. Who's the Boss Aaron does, and I think sometimes Tech Chap does as well. But those phones are available for them over there, so it makes more sense. But yeah, I think the big thing about the Mi the Mi 111 geez, I don't know. Mi 11 Ultra is that little screen on the back. I would have to do a little bit more looking into it to see what that's all about. Matthew says the thing about Nokia is most people in the US get mid-range phones, which Nokia in its modern form, focusing on that area of phones along with low end, they may be able to get somewhere with that. You make a good point, and one of the things that might tie to LG in that sense is that LG did really well with lower tier phones, right? The LG Stylo was very popular. LG had some very popular kind of no-name LG phones that they sold a lot of, and a lot of people don't realize that even though they lost, you know, boatloads of money, LG was still the number 4 seller of smartphones in the United States as of the end of last year. And so it's not like they were selling no phones, and but the majority of those were not the flagship phones. The majority of those were the phones like the Stylo that you could get off contract and that kind of thing. So the big question now is, what's next? Who's next? And we talked about it a little bit yesterday. I mean, who are the major players? Let me ask you guys this, and you can vote in the chat. Who are now the major manufacturers who have a stake in the smartphone game in North America? Who are the major manufacturers that have a stake in that game? Obviously, we've got Apple, we've got Samsung, we've just lost LG, we've got Google, we've got OnePlus still trying to make its way into the market. Who else? Motorola, but Motorola, I mean, Motorola doesn't make a flagship anymore, do they? I haven't seen a Motorola flagship since in a couple of years, if I can recall correctly. You know, they had the Z and the Z Force, and once that played itself out, I don't recall that they came up with another flagship phone. Am I wrong? The Moto Edge? Okay. Yeah, I gotta be honest and to say that I've not really not really, paid much attention to Moto for a while. Um, but yeah, I mean, I have to check out that Moto Edge because I did like Motorola phones. I thought the Moto X was a great phone. Price point was great. The customization was great. What Motorola did with stock Android was really clever and really useful. So I like all that. Um, and Sony, Sean brings up Sony. I mean, Sony is an interesting case because Sony is Sony for whatever reason, and I don't understand it. If anybody can explain it to me, let me know. But Sony is not available in almost any retail outlet in the United States. So you can't go into a carrier store in the US and put a Sony phone on contract. And the majority of people in the United States get their phones from off contract so that they can pay 30, $40 a month. And Sony just isn't in there. They're not doing it. And I don't know why, but they just aren't a player in that market. So it's kind of frustrating because Sony has a ton of potential. They make really good phones. Um, but yeah, I mean, it is an opportunity for them, as Matthew says here. But you know, take the LG consumers. I mean, how many LG consumers are there, honestly? Because they're exiting the market. Sony's another giant corporation that could absorb losses and potentially build a following of customers here, but they've been making phones and good phones for a long time, and they have not gone to that place. Now, as David points out, you can buy Sony phones at Best Buy, but unfortunately, the Sony phones that you can buy at Best Buy, at least if you walk into the store, are not the top level flagship Sony phones. They are like the sort of second tier and lower phones from Sony, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I think for Sony to make any kind of splash in the US, they would have to make their flagship phones available to people in the way that people in the US prefer to buy their phones, which is to rent or lease them. And it just hasn't happened. And yeah, Matthew says LG was third in the US, so there's a large gap in the market now that Sony would fit better than most others. If they said they were going to do it tomorrow though, when would they be here? When would they make it into the stores? I mean, I think we're looking at like a year to 2 years of Sony entering that marketplace, and um, at that point, somebody else. That's the thing. Is this an opportunity for Google to take more market share? I don't know. Uh, it. I don't know. I don't see Google. Google to me is kind of like LG. They kind of just they have the phones, they market them to a certain extent, and then they stop. They do a little bit more than LG did, but but they don't do very much. And so is Google a competitor uh, for that spot? I don't know. I don't know. Didn't LG manufacture the last few Pixels? I don't know that to be the case. I don't know that to be the case. And yeah, and Sean echoes what I was just saying. Google doesn't really care about being competitive. I don't know why they don't care about being competitive, but there's a lot of things that Google does that don't make sense to me. So so yeah, I don't know. Matthew says what Sony needs to do is to make deals with AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile to offer their phones through the carriers. That's the only route to success in the US due to most people. Yeah. But as far as I can tell, those deals take time. Maybe they're in the works, I don't know, but up to this point, Sony hasn't seemed like they were interested in that kind of that kind of business for their phones, I guess. So I don't know. I don't know. Um, they don't seem to be all that interested in going that route. Um, so another story that I wanted to look at was this. There are all these videos out there, these mock-up videos, um, of folding iPhones. I mean, if you've been on Instagram or any place like that, you've seen them. But this is a video. I'm gonna turn the sound off to make sure that I don't get any copyright problems, but this is the iPhone Flip mock-up. Okay, the screen on the back would be cool. Um, I haven't seen any flipping yet. When does it flip? Oh my god, this is 2 minutes long. Come on. I keep hearing more and more that this iPhone flippy thing is gonna happen, or iPhone foldy thing. Even the great John Prosser has said something about the iPhone folding. If it had that little screen, even if the regular iPhone had that screen on the back, I'd be psyched. Okay, don't drag it out. One thing that bothers me sometimes about these people who do concepts is that they have no sense of pacing. It's like, I don't need to see the phone circle 1,000 times before you show me the thing. Okay. So there's no hinge no hinge at all is what I'm seeing. The phone just magically folds itself. Um, okay, I've seen enough. I've seen Oh, they sold it so well. They're like, "Oh my god, this is unbelievable." And yeah. Um, not too much exciting there. Not too much exciting there. Apple, well, that's the thing. Apple has supposedly been working on some kind of foldable screen for foldable phone for many years. They've had patents that they've filed, et cetera, which is no indication that anything's ever going to come out of it. But David, you forget that Samsung already supplies Apple with a boat ton of their displays. Samsung is a supplier of uh of of parts to other manufacturers. It's one of the things when I talk about Apple, a lot of the Samsung fans come into the chat and they're like, "Well, Apple gets their displays from Samsung, or they get this, that, or the other thing from Samsung, so they can't be that awesome." It's like, well, I mean, that's part of Samsung's business. Uh, so yeah, I mean, if it comes down to it, they could be planning on buying foldable phones from or foldable screens from Samsung. It could be, um, that they come down from someplace else. We don't know. They could be developing it. Apple doesn't suck at phone displays. Apple doesn't make phone displays. Apple buys their displays from other vendors. Okay, that's I mean, that's the way it goes. Apple buys stuff from other vendors. Does John make videos about anything other than Apple leaks anymore? I haven't watched his video since he came back because all the titles are about Apple leaks. John doesn't make videos very much about other stuff other than Apple leaks um, anymore. And part of it is because he got the sources that he has, and he's getting the leaks, and in getting the leaks he's been able to grow the channel and sort of move in a different direction. It's it's a big gamble because I mean, your old audience might not be wanting to see Apple leaks all the time. Your new audience definitely does, but what happens if you run out of sources, et cetera, et cetera? Um, and so yeah, I think John feels like, Front Page Tech is kind of between a rock and a hard place, at least in those terms. Um, but again, I could be wrong. I mean, I would let I it's hard for me to advise because, everybody struggles to get their channel to do what they want it to do. So, um, I think a lot of people just as Danny said, front page tech has a niche, and I think a lot of people just enjoy John's humor and John's, the whole package that is front page tech. Uh, I myself would also like to see more coverage of other stuff, but I don't know. Um, Danny, don't shave your eyebrows, man. Don't do it. Don't do it, because then you'll look like an alien for however long it takes to grow your eyebrows back. One thing about being older is your eyebrows grow really quickly. So if I shaved my eyebrows, they would grow back really quickly. Um, so um, yeah, like I say, I think that a lot of people tune into Front Page Tech for John and his humor as much as anything else. But yeah, Danny, if you do if you do shave the eyebrows, you got to post a picture. That's all there is to it. Um, Matthew says he doubts if Apple would make a foldable iPhone with the market for them not being large enough. It wouldn't to be worth it to them. See, here's the thing: if Apple made a folding phone, the market for a folding phone would increase exponentially. And I mean, I don't say that as like an Apple fanboy. That's just what we've seen. That's just what we've seen every time Apple enters a new space. Um, so I think that if Apple has plans for a folding phone and they released it and they did what Apple typically does, which is they take something that hasn't quite been ironed out, and they don't put out their version until it's totally ready. I don't think we'll see one from Apple, but if you believe what you can read on the internet and hear on the internet, Apple might have one as early as 2022, 2023, 2024. Who knows? Uh, John John says that shaving eyebrows is a classic Hollywood move to make you look like a bad guy. Interesting. Yul Brynner didn't have eyebrows, did he? I mean, he was like totally bald. Um, so so KG says if Apple makes a folding phone, Samsung wins also. Why? Because the Apple will be buying their screens from Samsung. Is that why? Because I don't think I this is the year for the Samsung folding devices. If Samsung can't sell a decent amount of folding devices this year, then Samsung is I really think they're going to have to think about their plans for the folding phones, cuz $2,000 phones are too expensive, $1,500 phones are too expensive. Like if they can't make a folding phone that's less than $1,500, um then I think Samsung's folding plans uh might be in trouble. Um, hold on, catching up with chat here. So Scott says, yeah, Apple does broaden the market. NFC payments were kind of a niche and rare until Apple did Apple Pay, worked on those relationships and advertised about it. Yeah, Apple Pay has been great, and it's not just Apple Pay that I think works really well. It's the whole Apple Wallet thing is really cool because not only do you get Apple Pay, you can put your cards in there, you can use your Apple Card or whatever, but you can get your plane reservations in the Apple Wallet and all kinds of different things, discount cards, et cetera, in the Apple Wallet. I haven't used I haven't used the other payment systems, and I barely used Apple Pay, but I haven't used the other payment systems to know whether or not they have that same kind of support. Um, but Apple Wallet to me is what's really more important than just Apple Pay. Um, Matthew says, "What's going to end up happening in my eyes? The foldable will become the flagship, and the flagships will become the upper mid range." That's kind of already happening. I mean, I see Samsung going that way this year. Um, the S21 Ultra is really the only phone that I would call like a full-on flagship in the S21 line this year. The others have made several, I guess, compromises, and so Samsung seems to be going that way. I mean, they're not putting out a Note this year, but they are putting out a Fold. I think they're trying to position the Fold in the place where the Note would normally be positioned. So, hey, look, Devin Torres enters the building. Good morning to you, my friend. Got to play some games sometime soon, yo. It's been a while. I've been stupidly tired. Can't stay awake. Um, let's see. Looking here. Samsung's flagship Galaxy phones have a 60% markup compared to the cost to make them. Well, that's the way you do the business. And yeah, I mean everything is eh, whenever you look at the cost of the parts and even the cost and the labor uh, of a phone, you're not taking everything into account. You're not taking in the cost of the marketing, you're not taking into the cost of the research and development, you're not taking like there are many non-tangible costs that go into making a product. And so whenever people do those like, well, it only costs, you know, $15 to make a pair of Beats. Think about the amount of money that Beats once spent on advertising. That alone, you know, gives you the markup of what. Not to say that they're not making money hand over fist because their operation cost is low, but you have to take everything into account. Okay, let me read this from Daniel. Apple used to sell 128 kilobits per second protected MP4 music files, which sounded terrible, and tinny. Apple in 2009 replaced them with 256 kilobits per second M4A, which sounds more like the original CD. I didn't. I thought that Apple always sold the AAC format, and yes, in early days, 128. You have to remember that 128 was not the best, but not terrible, and now I believe that their AAC files are 320 kilobits, if I remember correctly. So, and the difference between the MP3/MP4 and the AAC is, you could get into the weeds on that, but AAC generally gets better fidelity at lower bit rates. So I don't know. I mean, I've listened to all of the streaming services, and I have not really found a significant difference in quality in just, regular everyday listening between Apple, Spotify, even Tidal. Now the only place that I think you're really gonna suffer from bitrate quality is with YouTube Music, which YouTube Music, I was so upset when Google Music went away, because YouTube Music is interesting. The way that, the discovery algorithm and all that kind of stuff, very interesting, but the sound quality is garbage. And it, yes, you got Google Play Music for free, and you still get YouTube Music for free if you're paying for premium, then you get it. Um, but the thing is, I don't wanna just, like, well, I'm paying for premium, I might as well just use YouTube Music. If it sounds like garbage, I wanna pay for something that sounds better. And a lot of it for me is, is also the discoverability algorithms. And I found that Apple has gotten a lot better, Spotify has gotten a lot better, Tidal, it has been garbage, and YouTube, I don't know. I haven't used the YouTube Music service long enough to really know. But yeah, as Sean said, 320 kilobits per second AAC files is what you get with Apple Music these days. And the one thing I will say is that if you bought if you bought a song from iTunes back in the day, as they sort of like improved their quality, they would they would upgrade you to that new quality. So I thought that was pretty good. And then and then there was a time when Apple allowed you to upload your entire collection of MP3s, right? So you could have everything available from the cloud from Apple, well, iTunes at the time. And I thought that was really cool because it was before Apple Music existed, and it gave you the option to listen to your entire collection, not just what you had purchased from Apple. And when they were gonna shut that service down, and even before that, but when you re-downloaded your collection, they actually would would give you the higher res versions of the files. So if you had a bunch of old MP3s that were 128 kilobits per second, I think they allowed you to download everything in 256. So I mean, I think that as the streaming slash MP3 digital music industry has developed, Apple has sort of has done right by their customers to a certain extent. Let me see what Matthew's saying here. What do you think of the rumors that the iPhone 13 Pro series may not have a charging port? If they do that, should they include MagSafe in the box? Yeah, definitely. And I would not be surprised at all if at least the Pro series doesn't have a port. Um, and I think they introduced MagSafe this year because of that. I think that that's been their plan, and that's where they've wanted to go. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if the iPhone 13 or whatever they decide to call it, Pro series, was MagSafe only. Now, MagSafe is not a fast charging option. It's not a fast charging option by any stretch of the imagination, and I think that hopefully Apple or third party manufacturers are working on some way to up the speed of MagSafe. But yeah, if they're gonna require MagSafe to charge, well, if they're gonna require somehow portless charging, they will have to give you an option for how to charge the thing portless. So, I mean, you could get a higher charge rate wireless dock or something like that. But yeah, they're gonna have to do something. And honestly, I don't care if they go portless. I really don't. In fact, I think I would prefer it at this point. Like, if you're not gonna give me a headphone jack, then just go portless. Fine, who cares? Whatever. Uh, so that's kind of how I feel about it. Let's see, just yeah, Laurent is echoing. Yep. Eventually, it'll be nothing but display, and the what's gonna happen when Apple gets rid of the notch? Like, so the notch has since 2017 been such an object of derision for the iPhone, even though, and I'm going to say this as somebody who uses all the phones, even though Face Unlock, Face ID is by far the best security option of any phone anywhere, because it's so seamless and it works so often. Um, what's going to happen when the notch goes away? I mean, are people going to be like, Apple is the greatest, or are they going to complain about something else? Of course, they'll complain about something else because Apple hate is a thing. I've been known to be an Apple hater, but only when they make me mad. So there you go. If Apple if Apple doesn't include MagSafe, well, they will need something to to be recognizable. They will need to have under the display. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they'll have to provide some charging option in the box, even if they don't include the brick. They'll have to find some charging option, and it'll have to be in the box. And like I say, that's probably why they introduced MagSafe this year, because as we've discussed in the past, the first couple of years when you come out with a new product, you're not necessarily making money off of it. You're paying for the research and development. So maybe this year introducing MagSafe and getting some early adoption of MagSafe and getting some third-party support for MagSafe will soften the blow for Apple when the time comes for them to go completely portless with the MagSafe device. Um, we'll just have to see. And it really depends on what Apple can do with the sensor arrays that they have to have for Face ID, because I don't see them going away from Face ID. So if they end up going to a hole punch, maybe, I'm not sure. But I know that this year there's talk that they're going to go to a smaller notch because they're going to be able to combine some things. Um, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I've felt this way, and I know a lot of other people have felt this way. Like, the notch has not bothered me, and I have really not noticed it for many years now. And I think that all the notch complainers are just, you know, eh, like, they're just complaining for attention at this point. Um, Matthew says he thinks that Face ID doesn't have much of a future, and maybe under the screen Touch ID. I can say, from using this phone, the Galaxy S21 Ultra, which has by far the best, the most reliable, the quickest under the screen fingerprint reader that I've ever used. Um, it's still nowhere as good and convenient as the under the screen fingerprint reader of or the Face ID that Apple has out there. Nowhere close. Nowhere close. And it takes a while to get used to it. You do get used to it, but it's still not as good a security option in terms of convenience, in terms of security itself, et cetera, than than under the screen fingerprint readers. So I just don't see Apple going back to like a physical motion. I don't see it myself. Um, it's all the millennials and Gen Z doing the complaining. Um, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Gen Z is are they still teenagers? I mean, teenagers complain about anything. Um, yeah, good point, Alan. The new notch stuff, I have seen some renders that do give me that sort of Pixel 3 XL vibe, which is ugly. Scott says, at the risk of seeming like a silly optimist, I don't think of the iPhone notch as intruding on the screen. I see the areas on each side of the notch as extra. Okay, moving the status icons out of the way. That is a glass half full way to look at it. And I don't see I don't I don't disagree with you. You can see it that way. One of the things is most every most every piece of media that you watch on your phone is still in 16:9 aspect ratio, which means that when you turn it landscape, you're not using the full aspect ratio of the device. So the notch disappears. It's only when you go full screen, but there's not enough people shooting in 2-to-1 aspect ratio right now in terms of media to make it worthwhile. Now, hopefully Zack Snyder has not started a trend of going into the 4:3 aspect ratio again, because that would be terrible for people who want to watch anything on a smartphone. But yeah, do I think the rollable form factor will end up on top? No, I don't. I think that rollables to me will just be like foldables at this point. It is a step, an iterative step toward something else. What that something else is, we don't know, but it's not going to be the final form by any stretch. I really think that we're going to end up having, you know, sort of watch style wrist cuffs that we can use that will also use AR and that kind of thing. And so the form factor won't be a physical thing that you hold in your hand every time you want to use it. Um, that's what I think. I understand why people get excited about foldable phones and rollable phones and everything else, because it's something new, it's something different. If you're a tech geek, of course that is something that interests you. But I just don't see any of those things being the next final form of anything. I think that somebody is going to get to whatever the next thing is, and then everybody else is going to slowly follow. But I don't think it's just folding or rolling or anything like that. Like the fact that you can that the screen itself is malleable is a component part of what the next design will be. But I think that I think that the actual physical way that you use it has to change in before we get there. And yeah, Zack Snyder did 4:3 because of IMAX screens, but um, for a digital only release in people's homes, I don't know many people who have IMAX in their home theater. I get it. Like he shot it in 4:3. There's lots of image information that got lost. I understand why he did it. Um, you didn't notice it after a while, but it was a somewhat an odd experience. So Matthew says, I see phones 30, 40 years down the line resembling the modern Fitbit or Apple Watch. Man, I don't think it's 30 or 40 years. I think it's 5 to 10 years. I think it's 5 to 10 years, maybe 15. But I think that we have definitely reached the pinnacle of potential for the current form factor of a smartphone, right? And the folding phones and the malleable screens are showing us the direction, um, showing us the direction where things are going to go. But ultimately, they are not going to be the final form factor. I really think that we'll see something like a malleable folding screen that could be like, a whole sensor array underneath the band and a whole just like screen along the top. Potentially you could pop it off and it could be handheld, but I think it'll also have AR capabilities. Maybe we'll finally get the watch where we get the hologram that pops up. Who knows? But I think that wearables are going to be the next form factor of the smartphone. I think that wearables are going to be the future, and right now foldables are just proof of concept. So, or at least moving toward proof of concept. Anyway, we're at 1 hour 14 minutes 47 seconds, and I swear I'm going to get this down to 1 hour, so that it's a nice compact little hour's worth of info. So I'm going to jump off now, folks, and get on with trying to put my entire life back together and hopefully get a video out today. But the fact that my back is already messed up might mean that by the time I get this stuff reorganized, I'm going to I'm going to just lay down and yeah. Man, I used to, I strained my lower back. I strained my lower back, and I've up until the last year or so, I had never strained my lower back like this before. So anyway, uh, you guys have a good rest of your day. Do spread the word about these daily shows. Do come back again. All of you who super chatted, thank you for the super chats. Membership is going to become a big thing. I am no longer going to be able to leave these daily shows up as replayable videos on the channel because it seems like the live streams are destroying the channel's metrics. So, $2 membership is gonna be worth a lot more in terms of replays of these things and other live streams for members only, et cetera, et cetera. $2 a month to help support the Painfully Honest. If you can't do it, that's totally fine. But if you can and you want to, it would really mean a lot to me. Once again, thanks to Restream for sponsoring this video. Do check out Restream if you have any kind of streaming needs whatsoever. Restream.io/join/PHT. Yeah, I can't express my gratitude to Restream for sponsoring more, and I can't encourage you more to go do it, but I will anyway, folks. You guys have a good rest of the day. Once again, my name is Jason. This is Painfully Honest Tech so honest it hurts.